I want to get you guys score predictions. I'm going to reference every team's trophy. So Ohio State and Michigan doesn't have like an official trophy. I do think, like this is kind of their trophy a little
Bingo.
bit.
There you go.
Um,
That's it.
That is the
right?
trophy.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So you got the Paul Bunyan axe and the Heroes Trophy for all these other teams, and it's like Michigan, Ohio State are saying, nope, we're playing for the Big Ten championship trophy in this one. So let's start with you, Eric. What are some of your general thoughts going into this game?
I think it's going to be very close. I think what scares me is that this game is played in Ann Arbor. I do think that there is a home field advantage there. Um, I think that this game's going to boil down for Ohio State for two things. Number one, how how well this offensive line can block on their defensive line. If we can give Kyle McCord time, given our weapons, given the running game that we've had the last 3-4 weeks, we have a chance. If our offensive line resorts back to the way they played the first half of the season and Kyle's got no time, we're going to lose this football game. That's the first thing we have to look at. Number two, red zone. We've been kicking a lot of field goals in the red zone lately. And if you're going to win this game, you're going to have to find a way to punch the football in. I think those are two keys to this victory. You look at the stats, and I've got them pulled up, and I was going to reference some of them. And we might save some of that, Derek, for our shows.
Yeah.
They're very close on a lot of stats. But Michigan they're ahead a little bit on a few, and Ohio State's actually a little bit ahead on a few, and they kind of even each other out. And usually when that happens, it boils down to turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe Michigan is plus 12 in turnovers this year, and we are even Steven in turnovers. Big advantage to the team up north right there. We got to protect Kyle McCord, and he cannot turn the football over. If that happens, we've got no shot. So my prediction, I run Ohio State podcast, so I'm not going to go against the Buckeyes. I'm going to say Ohio State 24, that team up north 23, and a classic.
Oh, it'll be a classic for reasons, even if it's not on the field. So, Derek, what are your thoughts on this one and score prediction?
Yeah, so this is one of those games, and it's probably funny for all of us here, being Michigan and Ohio State fans, that all year there's all of this talk about the AP poll and who should be where, and the early college football playoff rankings, who gets put where, and none of that matters at all. None of it nothing that happens before this game really matters. Both teams, whether it looked dominating or ugly at times, whether the conversation has been around what JJ McCarthy looks like or what Kyle McCord looks like, whether it's been around what the offensive lines look like or what the running backs look like, it doesn't matter. Both teams are undefeated coming into the game, and the winner of this game is likely winning the trophy that you just brought up, right? There's a conference championship game after that, but there's a clear gap between Michigan and Ohio State, and then maybe Penn State a little bit behind them, and then everybody else. Even if there's the occasional close game, it's college football. Things are going to get competitive. But this game now, I agree with Eric. This is going to be, for people that love football, I think this is going to be one of the funnest football games, one of the funnest college football games that people are going to watch in a long time. I feel like other games in recent years that have been exciting college football games have been high scoring college football games. I don't think we're in for that. I think we're in for a grinded out smash mouth game. I think both quarterbacks are likely going to struggle because both defensive lines are really good. I think that Michigan's defensive line is going to have a little bit of an advantage because of what Eric's talking about. Typically tackles struggle in loud environments because edge rushers have a little bit of an advantage there. Tackles likely can't hear the snap count most of the time, and they also can't have their head inside watching the ball where edge rushers do. So that's why you see tackles struggle sometimes in those big, loud environments, and that is slight advantage to the Michigan D-line that Ohio State's defensive line is not going to have. going into the game. But Eric, you were talking about how Ohio State was built to win national championships, and Michigan built their program to beat Ohio State. I think Ohio State kind of audibled and built it right back at Michigan the last couple of years. And I think for you probably are closer to this, Eric, than what I am. But when I've heard noise about Ohio State, it's been Kyle McCord is not meeting the standards of what an Ohio State quarterback is supposed to look like. Some of those explosives that have been nonstop since Urban Meyer landed at Ohio State up until basically this year. I think that part of that is the adjustment to make sure that Ohio State can play smash mouth football. I think that it was Ryan Day's commitment to being a tough team, right?
Sure.
No, you're right. I think, yeah. So I think we're in for a hell of a football game. I think that if there's advantage Michigan, it's that the game is being played in Ann Arbor. If there's advantage Ohio State, it's the fact that Jim Harbaugh is not the head coach of Michigan in this football game. That is a disadvantage for Michigan when your head football coach is one of the best coaches in all of football at any level, and is not coaching that game. That's going to bring a little bit of a disadvantage for what you would normally have managing the game and coaching on the field. But my prediction, I'm going to go 24-20 Michigan. Tight game coming down to the end.
Derek, this is why I respect you, because you chose a close score and you said, you know what, these are both good defenses and we're going to go with it. I've seen some Michigan fans choosing like 45-17. I've seen them choosing 56 to 3 or something like that. Now, maybe not that drastic, but it's like Ohio State hasn't given up more than 17 points once this season. Yes, Michigan, obviously scored a lot of points the last 2 seasons, but I think you're naive if you believe that this Ohio State defense, and I'm not being a homer at all when I say this. I truly believe this is the sentiment of most of college football, smart college football people. I think this Ohio State defense is nothing like the past defenses we've seen.
They make you earn it.
Yeah.
And it's the same for Derek's team. They make you earn it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Detman also brought up something I was going to bring up. Obviously, Ohio State fans saying meat chicken. But yeah, special teams.
That is absolutely right.
That was the exact thing I was going to bring up, because it doesn't show on the stat sheet, but Ohio State's special teams has been struggling all year. Ohio State is one of the only teams in the nation who has a special teams coordinator. Obviously, Michigan does too. You would think that they have a toddler running the special teams sometimes. I mean, they've almost run out the play clock just getting the players on the field. It's honestly embarrassing that Ohio State has mismanaged their special teams to the point that they have. And I could see it being the difference. I could see Michigan maybe not taking back a punt for a touchdown, but flipping the field with a really good return. Or, the punter just decides to run with it again when the punt was never even called, or, a bad snap that is done for a fake or something like that again. I just think that Michigan is more disciplined on special teams and making sure the right thing happens. So as much as, I look at the turnovers and I say, yeah, that's a big thing, I almost have to say special teams is bigger than that, at least for Ohio State. Sure. And for Michigan too, 2 punts inside the 2-yard line last game? I forget that punter's name, but dude, that was awesome. I mean, he's a really, really good punter to be able to make that happen. So we'll see what happens, but I think special teams, I think Detman's exactly right, is going to be a huge part of this. So yeah. My score prediction, you actually stole it from me, Derek. 24-20. I'm going to go with Ohio State. I think that one thing that has been overlooked a bit is just how much Ohio State has been running the ball with stretch and motion on sweeps and things like that. And I think they're going to try and tire out the Michigan interior of their defensive line. That defensive line is scary good. Mason Graham, Chris Jenkins, Kenneth Grant. I saw somebody had Kenneth Grant on the Heisman list earlier today.
Yeah, I thought that was, I saw that too.
I mean,
I don't necessarily know that was realistic, but
when you're nearly 350 pounds and you can move that fast, I can't really complain. But I look at that defensive line and I say, Ryan Day's going to have to scheme something up. And I think that if what I perceive their game plan to be is to wear out that interior of the defensive line by having them run and then hit them with the up the middle runs and stuff like that. I think that could be the difference that wins them this game with the offense, but we'll have to actually see it happen and go from there.